Hello, Logan here from Dimp Digital. This time we're doing a review on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I'm joined by the usual candidate, Apps. How you doing?
Good, thanks you.
Yeah, not bad. Back here after a little hiatus.
Yeah, a couple of weeks off for everyone. Well, longer really, because everything was recorded in early April, but we had enough just to carry us through. I've been on holiday, you've been busy with other things, and let people have a rest. Now we're back to try and get some more content out for everyone.
Yeah, content that people love, eager for it. Although I saw one drop, I thought, sometimes I forget the ones that we do, and then I saw one drop the other week, and I was like, I completely forgot we even did that.
Was it the Destiny one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that one, actually, I don't know if I mentioned on that thing, but I remember thinking afterwards, we was complaining a lot about Destiny 2 and the gouging of money. I couldn't remember whether we spoke about the fact that it'd been also released free on PC and free on PlayStation Plus within a year. And I was like, why would you even bother buying that game if that's the approach that's going to be taken? Get the base game for free. Anyways, it's not Destiny 2.
Well, could be. That's the trouble. We could get easily sidetracked into it, but here we are to discuss an unusual game for you, I think. I wasn't expecting this to come out the woodwork, but I never had you down as a Super Smash Bros. Player.
I'm not. I'm still not really. I've never played them before. That's a lie. I played them around the halls.
Right.
When we was probably about, I don't know, 12 or whatever age it was around his, and I never had a Nintendo system of my own when I was younger. I always had a PlayStation or Master System or Mega Drive, and Hall seemingly always had the Nintendo consoles, and one of those was the N64, and I can't remember which Super Smash it was. It may have been one of the first ones, it might have been Melee, I can't remember now. I don't even know what was on what platform, but I remember going around his house and playing that, and Mario Party, and him being obviously just too good to beat, because that's all he played. And I'd not played him before. It's not like he was sitting there teaching me. And then a couple of years, maybe 3 years ago, I went round Holsworth, Dave Salmon's for a day, and we had a little go on Smash. Managed to win one game out of about 4, so I was reasonably happy with that. But because the Switch is really my first of my own Nintendo consoles, rather than just going around someone's house and playing stuff or borrowing the console to play some of the exclusives, I never really had a chance to play it. And fighting games generally as well aren't really my thing. Like, I'll normally play through the story, but I won't play online. I might play a little bit of co-op or couch versus or whatever, but no one does that anymore, do they? If anyone goes to anyone's house, they're just drinking and watching football or something, or boxing. So yeah, I don't really play them that much, these games, these fighting games, and certainly have not played much of a Smash Brothers game before, but now I've got the Switch, I thought, well, why not give it a go? Let's see where we land.
So the first thing I need to address is, did you not have a Wii?
Mm-mm.
You didn't?
No, well, I bought a Wii for my parents, and I bought a Wii for that Seal, but I never bought it for myself. So I had access to it, but I never really played it. I think I played like Wii Sports. So to me, that was always a bit of a gimmick console.
Yeah, there was nothing. Hall will shoot me for saying this, but there was nothing on it of any note, really.
It started off okay, but then it's quite the innovation there with the motion controls was good. But when you translated that into just relaxing and wanting to play games, I struggled a bit. So I only really used it for Wii Sport. And to fuck about really, so that was never, Smash was never going to get bought on that.
So there you go. I didn't. I for some reason in my head I had it down that you had something. Well, you did, but you just weren't interested. You were sitting on that bloody Xbox, I reckon.
Yeah, it was because
PC.
because I had a PS2 and then PS3 was out. I think a year later. Xbox 360 came out first. And then they went, £500 UK that PS3, and I went, nope, go and get me that Xbox 360 for less than 300 at the time, and that was it. That's how I never got a PlayStation for that generation. I ended up borrowing it.
I forgot they literally blew it that bad, and they spent years catching up to Microsoft on console sales, just I think because they priced themselves out of it.
Oh yeah, it was that. It was just ridiculous. Not only was it a year late, it was probably £200 more expensive, maybe nearly $300 for the cousins in America. And yeah, the weird thing is though, if you look at the sales, in the end, the very end, the PS3 slightly edged it.
Yeah,
but I don't know whether that counts as a success really, because you think all those years they don't make much money off these consoles. In fact, some of them lose off it. The hardware is not where they make the money. It's us buying the software and then getting a cut of it, a third of the sale. So the longer you're in front and the more software you're selling on your systems, the better off you are. So I think even if you put it back towards the end and sell more consoles, you ultimately have lost a lot of headway in terms of software sales.
Blowers.
Yeah.
Anyway, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Yes.
I mean, I'll be honest and say I've got a brief idea of what this game is from some gameplay I've seen, albeit very brief.
Yeah.
But what is the overriding objective? To be the last man standing?
Depends. You can set different rules. So it's a fighting game, and you can have multiples of, I think, up to, can't be 8. I'll look it up whilst we're doing it. But with 1-on-1, it can be 1v1v1 with v1 or 2v2. I think you can do 3v3, so it must go at least up to 6. And yeah, there's 2 ways you can kind of set it up. One is that when you hit someone, you increase the damage you've done to their character. There's like a little percentage at the bottom. When you get sort of to the higher parts of it, so between sort of 60 to and up, if you charge up an attack and hit them with that, the chances are you can knock them off the screen and win that way. So that might be one of the rules. One of the rules might be that you've got to smash your opponent off the stage. And it doesn't end, if you get to 100%, it doesn't mean you've won. It just means that person's weaker. You can go as high as like 300%, which basically means if you tap them, they'll be gone. But you've still got to land that killing blow, if that makes sense, to knock them off. Then you've got things like stamina battles. So that is literally, you've got a percentage of life that you're both given, usually the same, and the person who can knock their opponent down to 0 wins. And there's different ways you can kind of set up the games to run those. So with the Smash gameplay, for example, rather than just being 1 life and you're out, what you might do is you might set up and say, well, everyone's got 4 lives, so you've got to knock everyone off 4 times to win. Or you might set a time limit and say the person with the most lives at the end wins. There's all different ways you can work it, but it's not traditional in the fact that the only way to win is to whittle your opponent down to 0 health and they just die. Like in the Smash mode, it's kind of their own thing, really.
Yeah, I quite like the idea of that. It sounds like it adds a little bit of variety. It makes it a bit more interesting. But
what it means is for like rookies, like if you're on 120%, if you get hit with a solid blow, you're going to go. That's the end of it. But if you've got your opponent up to 60%, there's still a chance for you if you can land like a critical or a counter, or do something that's powerful, or a super smash attack, for example. Then you can still win. So it just gives you, because if that was a percentage and you were 60% behind and you had 10% of life left, usually you think, well, I'm done here. They're going to hit me twice and I'm dead. But it kind of just gives you, I think, for people that aren't as good, just a slim chance if they can land something special.
Right. Interesting. So, I mean, whenever I've played fighting games, and I think probably the last one I played was Tekken on the PS1. Tekkens.
Tucker.
I think that from my brief memory of nearly 20 years ago, it probably was, to be fair, about that. It was basically you kill one person, you move on to the next one, and the computer is slightly harder and the character's slightly harder to beat, and you do until you get to the end boss or whatever and you kill them. I wouldn't know because I never got that far, but anyway, that's kind of how these games navigate a story.
Yes.
How does Super Smash Bros. Ultimate navigate a story?
Well,
with the characters it's got in it.
Yes. So the only reason I bought the game is because this mode is here. I didn't buy it to play like you said there, like a classic mode where you might fight 6 people and then a boss at the end. You know, that's in here. We can go into that a bit later, but this one has a mode called World of Light. That's where I spent most of my time playing Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. So World of Light is basically their campaign. I'm not going to sit here and say there's a great story there. There's not really.
Rich backstory.
They can't, because there's 70 odd playable characters. They've got no. The voices in the game are kind of voice. So when you're like hitting someone or doing a move like Ryu, doing his Hadouken and all that stuff, that's all in there. But there's no cutscenes of them talking. So you've got none of that. So that's all stripped away. But there's a cutscene at the start, and essentially there's this creature or this big ball of light, and it's called Galeem. So Galeem basically obliterates all of the Smash characters in one go. So he kills them all, but apart from Kirby manages to escape. Of all the characters, the little guy Kirby uses warp speed and gets away. The rest are, it looks like obliterated, but essentially what happens to them is they get held by like an evil force essentially, and they can't fight for you, they can't do anything, they're locked away until you sort of release them from that. That's the setup of the game. So you're tasked with defeating the evil that's on this world or planet, I don't know what it is, and freeing as many of the characters along the way as you can. So the way that manifests itself is that you actually have an overhead map. So there's a map that you can walk around with Kirby, like a little 2D map, top down. You can wander around. There's all sorts of different routes you can walk down, and paths and different areas. But you can't just freely walk around, because you walk 20 yards and there'll be like a little blocker, and that will basically be someone to fight. So that's the way it works, is that you're basically trying to clear down as many of the paths as possible, fighting various opponents, and working towards a path of unlocking or freeing one of the actual main fighters. So that's how it works. It's actually a little bit more interesting than your typical fighting game where there's a cutscene, then you fight, cutscene, then you fight. This is, you've got a little map to wander around, and you work your way through that map, and hopefully you can free all these guys and banish the evilness that's been there. And yeah, it's interesting because I've not seen a fighting game do that before. It offers something different. It has the map itself is ginormous. Like there's tons of fights that you can walk up to and engage with, tons of different routes, and I'm not going to say every character has their own little individual sort of spot on the map, but there's a lot of areas that have clearly taken direction from that character's franchise. So for example, there's a Zelda part of the map, and when you enter that part, all the Zelda music comes on, and there's even some really light puzzle solving in some of the areas. There's a Mario area. There's one part of the map where it's kind of trying to replicate Street Fighter. So rather than you walking, you get on a plane that has the music as you travel to like USSR, does all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like a celebration really of all these different franchises, and you work your way through it. You fight the enemies, and the story itself is, as you can imagine, very bare bones. But it's an interesting way to set up a campaign, I guess, for a fighting game.
So do you feel like it encouraged you to move from one fight to the next then?
Yeah, because
story. Did it add anything to...
I'm not going to say the story did. I think it's more because there's not really, other than you see Mario and you think, oh, I want to free him, so you might work down that path to free Mario. That's the only thing. But story-wise, I'm not going to say that's the reason why you sit there and play it. Like you forget all the characters are just locked away in this evilness after, because it's a long campaign. But it's more about the way they structure the World of Light mode itself. And I might be jumping ahead here, but I'm sure you'll cut through if I've covered that. But when you fight an enemy, so when you walk up to one of these these characters to engage in a fight, every fight has usually its own modifier on it. And what I mean by that is that when you fight the person, it's not just a straight, UV them, kill them, knock them off, win. Usually there's some sort of modifier. So it might be that the floor is poison, so you can't touch the main floor of the thing, so you've got to kind of work around that and find a way to defeat the enemy. It might be the enemy is giant, so they're slower, but they do more damage. They have all these different kind of modifiers and different bits and pieces that you got to fight against. And to help you do that, you don't just play as Kirby on his own, really. What you get are these things called spirits. Now, spirits are basically buffs to your character, or to Kirby, or to whoever you choose. So you start with Kirby, say I unlock Mario, you can then switch to Mario and use him to fight in this mode. So as you unlock the characters, you can use more, but I just stuck with Kirby for the most part. But you've got stats, so you've got like, I don't know, damage 500, defense 500, and then as you defeat the enemies in their little maps and their stages, you unlock spirits that you can assign before you fight next time. So you've got a primary spirit, which basically controls the power of your fighter, and that will determine how many support spirits you can add into your team almost. Now these aren't physically represented in the actual fight, it's all behind the scenes. It's all stat twiddling and bits and pieces like that. So you might find a primary spirit that has, I don't know, 3 slots in it, so you can add 3 support spirits, and so you might decide that you want 3 support spirits, one that gives you a ranged weapon to start with, one that makes you immune to the poison floor, and then one that makes your down attack more powerful, because you use that a lot. And you kind of construct a team depending on the fight and try and combine your strengths against their weaknesses. I'm massively understanding how complex it is. It's not complex, but the different ramifications of it, but that's the general gist of it, is that you kind of want to beat these opponents so you can unlock that spirit and then use them for harder fights to come.
Right, okay, I see what you mean. I do get what you mean. They're kind of like not consumables, I'm trying to think of the word, but basically I see what you mean. You can attach them or associate them with your character, and they
think of them like gear almost.
Yeah,
like
that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
it is like gear almost, just that you're using characters. But the great thing is, all these spirits are characters that you're not going to know all of them, but if you've played some of these series, you'll know them as like side characters.
Yeah.
So you've got the main playable characters, and then within their sort of game series, there's obviously loads of other characters they interact with. I'll use Metal Gear Solid for example. You've got Solid Snake in there. You can then unlock Revolver Ocelot as a support spirit or as a primary spirit, for example. So although he's not manifested physically, it gives you a little bit more attachment. You think, oh, I've got Ocelot on my side. He gives me ranged attack plus or whatever. And then you can get Big Boss, and you can build a Metal Gear Solid team if you want, and that gives you an extra buff if you use stuff from the same series. So they're not just faceless bits of armor or weapons. They're all characters that have appeared in these franchises. I'm going to admit half of them I didn't know who they were, but the ones that I did, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. I remember Captain Toad Treasure. I know who he is. I know what he's doing. I remember Cooper Kid. It's got all that, and they've all got their own individual pluses, minuses, and what they're good at, what they're not good at, and some of them just give you straight up, like I said, weapons to start with, or extra armour, things like that.
I wonder if there are people out there that know all the characters. There must be, mustn't there?
There will be, yeah. The one thing I would say that's is a missed opportunity is there's not like an encyclopedia to read up on them. Like, it would have been really cool if once you unlocked that spirit, there was like just a little, like a little, document you can refer to and scroll down and go, oh, let's have a look at Boss, and then you go into Boss. It goes, Boss is a Metal Gear Solid character that first appeared in da-da-da-da, just to give you a little bit of like, oh, that's what series it's from. That's when they first came, and then you can sort of plug it together. I'm surprised they didn't do that because, that's the sort of thing I can imagine Nintendo doing, but. Then again, I don't know how many spirits there are, but it could be in the thousands, so maybe not.
Really?
Honestly, there's fucking hundreds of them.
What?
It's hundreds. That's what I mean. It's brimming with content. If you've loved Nintendo and some of the third party stuff they've got in there since the NES fired up, you're going to love this because it will have just so many callbacks and characters that you've forgotten about. Even like characters from like Punch Out of there. You can, like Little Mac, he's one of them. You can have him as a primary spirit, and he gives you, his main thing is he gives you fist damage that's increased. So all kind of, they try and like tie it in and make it sense with the character themselves. But like I said, half of them I didn't know who they were, so I would have appreciated a little encyclopedia to sort of look back on, or an index once you've unlocked them, to see who they were and what franchise they're associated with.
I suppose their counter to that would be you're probably sitting next to a PC or a laptop. Quick Google.
Yourself.
Yeah.
Well, you're not though, are you? 'Cause you're on this Switch and you're on the go. That's what they wanted, wasn't it? Huh?
Counter argument immediately.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine, but put it in the game, I say.
Yeah. It would have been nice, even if it was just a one-liner or something. But,
yeah. It's interesting though. It's good to see, and you'll bring back some memories, that's for sure. And the spirits themselves, like I said, you've got primary and support spirits. The primary ones all have an associated category, I guess. So that they might be an attacking primary spirit, and that means your stats are boosted in the attacking sense of things. There might be one that's good at grabbing, so if you do a lot of grab attacks, that might be one for you to use. Shielding, because you can shield in the game as well, that's another one. And there's also a neutral one, which doesn't really sort of a balanced one. But each of those kind of categories, if you're facing a character who's strong at shielding, for example, you might think that it's best to get a grab primary spirit, because that's a weakness for the shield. So you can kind of, again, give yourself a bit of an edge by looking at what spirits they've got and then assigning a team that's going to counter that.
So it's basically going through a series of fights and adapting your character as best as you can to counter the enemy.
Yeah, and that's it. And you level up your spirits as well, so you can level them up to level 99. They increase, their powers increase and whatnot. Some of them you can evolve as well, almost like
That'd
a Pokemon.
bother me.
What's that?
That'd bother me, because it would annoy me if I went, right, okay, I'll use this one for this one, and then there's a more passive one which you can use that's generally pretty good, and you think, well, imagine getting to a point where you're trying to do a character and you think, oh, I need to get this up to level 20 or something, this spirit up to level 20 before it'll be any good. Or, do you know what I mean? It'd just be annoying.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's hard going to start with, because that happens, your characters, you've got no one at level 99, but after you've played a few hours, you get so many rewards from the fighting. So not just the spirit, you get things called snacks and XP and experience. When you fight with them, they get leveling up. So you can manually level them up as well, just by using the snacks, and you'll end up with hundreds of those. So
it's exhausting me listening to it.
It's crazy.
Genuinely, I just think did you find it overwhelming, or does it sort of slowly introduce these bits and bobs?
I think it doesn't do the best job of explaining it all. I'm sure there's more in-depth stuff I could have done, but I just kind of looked at a base level of like, right, that's a grab, so I need a shield. There's an electric floor, so I put electric floor in. The good thing is, if you don't want to sit there and do that before each fight, you can press, I think it's Y on the Switch controller, and it'll automatically assign what it thinks is the best combination of the characters you've got.
How reliable is that, though?
It's pretty good. The only thing it tries to do is, I love being overpowered, so I like having I like to be able to hit them twice and kill them if I could. But the game tries to not do that, because the weaker your team is, the more rewards you get for winning. So they try and give you a little bit of a weakened team, or a team that's a little bit more in line with that particular fight. But I'm always like, no, I want my big daddy just to squash them if I can, because I want it done over and done with. So if you don't want to fiddle each time, that's a reasonably reliable thing. Just what I'd recommend is you don't swap out your primary unless you need to, because it's weak against the opposing team's one. Have like three powerful ones that you're happy with, and then just Y on the support stuff, because that'll automatically put in something like, immune to poison, immune to lava, reduced damage against electrical attacks if it's an electrical opponent, that sort of thing. So you can save time by doing that, absolutely.
Ugh, it sounds like you could. It sounds like a rabbit hole, and it depends how far down it you want to go.
Well, it's got to be completed, isn't it, when I start? So that's the.
Oh yeah, I mean that's you got to get to the end of it.
That's annoying. And that's costly.
We'll kind of mix in the rundown piece with a bit of design and progression. We've sort of already done that, but we'll continue along that vein. I'm going to chuck it out there. How many fights are there in that story mode? If you had to put a rough number around,
I can tell you how many I did for my playthrough. Okay, this is.
Before you tell me the number, how long are each of the fights on average?
They can last. Not joking, they can last 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Or they can last 90 seconds.
Right. Okay.
So that's the it goes from one extreme to the other. Sometimes the modifiers on them are so. There's stuff I still haven't done, but you don't have to do everything to get to the end of the story, if that makes sense. So I'm happy with that. But some of them are so frustratingly annoying with the combination of shit they give you, even when you're really powerful. It's fucking hard to do them. So, but for my completion, I played the game for 24 hours, just that mode. So just the World of Light mode. That was 24 hours, 83% completion. So most of it. Got to the end, done the campaign. I can now go back and do the other stuff I haven't done. I'm not going to, but and that was 512 fights.
It's quite a lot.
That's excessive.
That sounds like a lot.
It is. It felt like a lot. I've been playing it since it came out.
Bloody Tekken, you do about 25, I think.
This is what I mean. The reason why I bought the game was because of World of Light. I saw people bigging up and praising the single player mode as like, oh, this is like a campaign. And I was like, okay, I'm down with that. But I'd only ever really played shorter ones, like Injustice. That series has got a good campaign. That's cutscene, fight, cutscene, fight. It's a very basic formula. Sometimes you get to choose your fighter and you go down a different path. But the story for that is very cinematic. It's good. They're good stories, and Mortal Kombat also, which has recently come out, seems to have another good story as well. This is different. It doesn't tell a story, but it gives you a really in-depth mode. It's very, very meaty. That happens to have a start, kind of a middle, and also an ending that you work towards. But in between, you're just fighting or exploring the map and maybe trying to, I don't know, just unlock some of the puzzles or figure out how to unlock certain characters. It is I was not expecting it to be that long. I was a bit surprised when I saw that it's taking some people 30 hours, and I thought, Jesus, what have I got myself into here? And it took me 24, and that's not everything. So I can see 100% easily taking another 6 hours. So yeah, it's mad how much meat is in that. But that's also, I think, a little bit to its detriment, because how can you do a 512 fights and not get tired of it?
Yeah.
I mean, the modifiers make it a little bit interesting, but sometimes it's just not. It's just you walk in, hit them twice, and they're gone. And maybe that's my fault. Maybe I should have played with a weaker team. But I was like, I'm not stressing out trying to deal with that. I want to get through this.
Can't be your fault.
No, exactly.
Why are you going to make it deliberately harder for yourself?
To get more rewards, more XP at the end of it. Level up another character. But like I said, I had a million snacks to give them, so I could just level them up when I wanted. You also unlock a gym at some point where you can just leave them there and they'll level up. Doesn't cost anything. Good thing with that is the time carries on when you're not playing it.
Yeah.
So if you miss, go back in a week's time, they'll all be top level, which is good. So we'll be playing the game. But yeah, World of Light is a big commitment, and I wasn't overly prepared for that. But I think because I've had it since December, and we're now May.
Right. Didn't know you'd had it that long.
Yeah, I had it since release, pretty much.
You've been just chipping away at it.
Yeah, I chipped away at it. Stopped for a long time. Stopped for about a month. Chipped again. And then when I was on holiday, done quite a few hours of it then, and then that plane ride home I was like, right, I think I'm near the end, I can do this. And I did, finished it on the plane, so that kind of was good because it it took up most of the plane journey. I didn't have to worry about the unbearable, uncomfortable atmosphere that I was in.
It's still a lot, though. I reckon if someone said to you that can be half that, you'd go, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's no need for it to be that long. For someone like me who likes closure and to complete things or to clock things, it's a bit of a nightmare, really, because it's just a bit too long of doing very much the same thing. I think at about 50%, I unlocked all the characters in the game. So if you unlock them in World of Light, you unlock them in the main game as well. That's another thing. The characters aren't all unlocked from the get go. So
what if you want to play other modes?
Yeah.
What?
You have to own them.
You'd have to play it to unlock all.
Don't have to play World of Light. You can unlock them through other modes as well.
Right.
But World of Light's an easy one because you can kind of if I see Solid Snake, I can go and get him, and then he's unlocked for the whole game essentially. And then when you come out of World of Light, if you've been playing it for like 10 minutes, it will then challenge you to fight someone who you haven't got. If you beat them, you then unlock them. So that's how it kind of works on a timer almost. And I think in classic mode as well, you can unlock specific characters if you get to the end of their string, but classic mode can come later. It's crazy. It's crazy how much is in this game.
I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because sometimes we're critical of games for the lack of content and depth and how much they give you, but it is a fine balance, because if you give people too much, they get overwhelmed by it and go, good grief, what's all this? So sometimes I do wonder if they're better putting stuff in and slowly releasing other modes and whatnot. But
trouble is, with a fighting game, I don't think a lot of people buy the game for this campaign. They don't buy it for World of Light. They buy it because they want to play Smash, with their mates or online.
Yeah.
So this is like a bonus. No one's sitting there. It's not like Assassin's Creed where the campaign is the game. This has so many other options to do.
Yeah. That
it's a bonus for those that love the game and perhaps do want to chip away at it. But I came into it with not the wrong approach, but I guess I'm not really the target audience for this. Somebody who likes a campaign. I'm not saying the campaign was bad, but that's 24 hours with 512 fights is a lot of fighting to do. I don't think I've played a fighting game like that since Street Fighter 2.
Right.
I can't have done. I definitely haven't. I know I haven't.
Arguing with himself now.
Well, that's what happens at this level.
Sends you crazy. Well, let's dip out of that bit for the time being. What does the game actually look like? I must admit, I can't actually remember really what the art style is.
It's good. It's smooth, and the art style, I think it does a really good job because there's so many different characters from different franchises that some have their own art style. It does a good job of making sure everyone looks as you'd expect them to look, without them not making sense in this world. I don't know what they've done. They must have made some tweaks to them, but they've done a good job. It's about as good as you can really expect on the Switch. 2D sort of fighting game, good stuff. Not mind blowing, but then again, you're there to just sit back and knock each other off the stages, so not really to worry about.
Does what it needs to.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the main thing is that everyone looks good, because the last thing you want is like you unlock Solid Snake and you're like, yes, 30 hours unlocking him because he didn't arrive in the random bit or whatever it is, and then you play him and you think he looks like fucking toilet, or he looks weird in the world. They don't. It's all good.
I reckon they spend ages on the art to make sure it's right on a game like that.
Makes you wonder whether they have to get sign off from like the third party stuff. So say like Metal Gear Solid, do they have to get Konami to say, yeah, we're happy with that before it being allowed in the game because it's their property, or whether they just say, Nintendo, we trust you, don't make him look like a fucking cunt. But
yeah, I don't know. If it was me, I'd want to see it and get it signed off.
Yeah.
But
how long does that take? It's 70 characters, over 70.
Must take a little while.
That's why I called it Ultimate. It's got everyone in it.
So what is it? 60 FPS?
Yeah, All good. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I think they have to be these fighting games.
Oh yeah, true. 22 FPS and you're fucking jumping around, laggy mess.
I'm sure Street Fighter did do that back in the day. When you hit those barrels.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, I reckon if you went back and played some of those games, they'd just be like, I reckon they were probably running. I reckon at like 12 to 15 FPS or something.
Anything on that N64 was like GoldenEye. Fuck me. We used to play the older co-op, 4-player co-op, and use the remote mines or the proximity mines. That must have been sub 10 FPS when an explosion went off.
Always used to get burst for them.
Yeah, it catches people out. Again, I like that mode because not much skill, just got to be a bit cunning of where you put them, and you can catch people out.
Remake, please, Nintendo.
Well, they're not going to, are they?
Get that out.
Yeah, they did. Well, re-released it at some point. Not re-released it, but I'm sure there was like a GoldenEye.
Yeah, there was, but proper Daddy-O, it wouldn't be the same. It's like if I went back and played the original Counter-Strike, it seemed like two.
Do you reckon?
Yeah. Mind you, saying that, CSGO isn't much different.
No, that's what's running now.
Yeah. We digress. So, in terms of gameplay mechanics, how it controls, I presume, do each of the characters have their own, movement speeds and jumping and all that sort of shit?
Yeah, they've got their own move sets and they vary massively from character to character. So it's really about finding someone who you're good with and you like and you like their moves. So yeah, they've done a good job of making sure that everyone feels different. I'm not going to lie, I've not played with every character on there, but I've played with probably at least half of them. And you can feel the difference straight away. Like you could beat an enemy easy one time, and then you switch character with someone you're not familiar with, and you'll lose because you're not in sync with how they work or their moves, what their range is, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, they've done a good job with the mechanics and the controls, making sure it's tight and making sure that each of the characters are unique and all playable, which is, I think, the most important thing.
So is it a button bashing style fighter game, or is it more thought than that goes into it?
Well, I mean, I've always played them like that. Any fighting game, same as any. Like, if you're good at it, 9 times out of 10 you're going to beat someone who's button mashing. But if you can get lucky with it, and you can beat the computer with just button bashing. But as time goes on, you slow down a little bit and pick your shots a bit more. But there's combos you can do. There's definitely strings of attacks that you want to try and string together if you can. But if anything fails, go to what you're good at and just keep reusing it and catch them out.
Simple as that.
That's my advice.
So, AOB. Anything else that you want to say about old Super Smash Bros. Before we get on to the closing element that everyone looks forward to?
Yeah, I mean, no encyclopedia, as I said, for the characters. That's bothered me. No wiki, whatever you call it. It's not an encyclopedia, whatever they call it. Missed opportunity there. But the amount of content in the game is really impressive. Like I said, we went through World of Light in depth of what that is and how long that can be for someone. You've got Spirit Board, which is a mode where you go into the screen and it will show you a list of, say, 6 spirits that you could just fight there and then. And then if you beat them, you can unlock them and use them in World of Light. So if you don't want to go around fighting, or if you see a character on the Spirit Board, it's a timed thing, it changes every 10 minutes or so, you can go in there and fight and try and get them in your team without going through World of Light. So that's a little side mode that's linked in. You've got Smash Mode, which is where you customise local matches, set up tournaments, set up tag battles, set up some special Smash modes if you want to do that. You've got Classic Mode, which is you pick a fighter, you choose a starting difficulty, and then you beat a number of opponents, like you're saying with Tekken, you beat 7 opponents, for example, and then fight a boss at the end. The difficulty will go up each time you win. If you lose, you can choose to sort of carry on and it will reduce the difficulty. I think the aim of that one is to try and one day have your difficulty finish on the highest with the boss, if that makes sense. So you build it up so that you're on the highest difficulty, you don't lose, and you beat the boss. But I didn't. I'm not good enough, so I just played it on the lower modes and went through
Rules
that.
himself out. Went no.
Absolutely. You've got mob smash mode, which is basically you as a player taking on mobs of enemies. So you might have 4 others on the screen that are trying to get you. They're normally very weak, but there's 3 variations of that, so you can get high scores in that. You can, play through with certain characters. You can test out moves, or you could just, if you want to just smash things off the screen, that's quite a good one because, like I said, they're normally weak piss. Training mode there, which is quite in depth, that you can put on different sort of lenses that show you how much damage you're doing per attack, how far you're launching people. I know people use that for more in-depth stuff, but it's quite an in-depth sort of training mode there. There's not really tutorials in there. It's more a free mode where you can test out moves against an AI or a computer opponent that you can have just be passive or fighting back. They've recently added a stage builder as well. So on top of the stages that are already there, that's there for people if they want to make their own stage to fight on. And that's a very important thing for a lot of the people and whatnot. Then you've got online matches that you can partake in, you can set up, or you can just do a quick play. It's got like a universal ranking for that as well. Or you can spectate, you can just go online and spectate. I don't know who's doing that. Bit of a strange one. There's a vault. So in this vault it has music from the franchises that you've unlocked and other goodies that you've unlocked in there. So that's where I thought this codex or this encyclopedia should have gone, in this vault, but it wasn't to be. And as I said, you've got over 70 playable characters, and there are over 100 stages as well, and each character has their own sort of specific stage with the music from the franchise and the sound effects and the background. It's crazy. On the Metal Gear Solid stage, for example, during the fight at some point a Metal Gear Rex breaks through the wall and is there sort of lurking and can shoot. You can tell that stuff off if you want, but I can't undersell how much content is in this game. It's mad.
Would you say too much content? Is that possible?
Not for that, 'cause you haven't got to play it all. I've played all of those modes once or twice minimum and spent most of my time in World of Light, so I've kind of got my feel out of it. But I don't know, with fighting games, it's like how can there really be too much content? Unless you have to unlock stuff, which I know Mortal Kombat's had a bit of a problem with, excuse me, then it's not really a problem. The more content, the better. The more stages, the more unique stuff that you can have for each of the characters is surely the better. In a game like Assassin's Creed, where there's a defined campaign, I agree. You've got to structure the game around peaks and troughs, so you don't want the player getting bored. But people with fighting games, they play them all year round and for years. So the more content, the better. You can just dip in and out of it. I'm not going to go back to World of Light, but I might go back to Mob Smash mode because I quite like that. There's like a Centurion one where you've got to try and kill 100 opponents, and then it tracks your highest sort of opponent score and your time you've done it with. And it tracks it for each character you've done it with, and also like an overall, like a leaderboard. So I don't know, I might have got 100 with Solid Snake and he's the top dog. Mario's got 87, so I can, you can go and fiddle around with that and see which characters you can get the furthest or the quickest on. Like, I don't think content's a problem here. I think the problem arose in the World of Light mode because 512 fights, 24 hours, bit long, bit on the long side, if I'm honest. But it's not there to tell a story really, it's there as another additional mode to unlock characters if you want to do it that way, or just to play something a little bit different, have those modified matches really, if you want a bit more of a challenge, or if you want a change up of the structure, it's there. I can't really knock it for that. It's difficult as it is. It's not primarily a single player focused game, it's an extra mode that happens to actually have a lot more effort put into it than most fighting games.
So that's basically what you think it is. You sort of go, it's not there as a main sort of target. You're not expecting the hardcore people to go, that's what I'm getting that for, I can't wait to play it.
No, not at all. They're getting it because they want to play with their favourite characters. They want to play Smash Brothers, that's why they're getting it. They want to play with every character they've ever released on the Smash Brothers franchise in one game, which they've never done before. That's the appeal of the game. That's why people will get it. The fact that there's something there that can last up to 30 hours or beyond that, just playing against the AI that has a form of progression and a reason to play, is just the icing on the cake, really. It's madness. It's good, and it's kind of. I was struggling to criticise it too much because I've not seen a campaign that long in a fighting game before. They're normally 6 hours and done tops, which feels about right if you're only in it for that. But if you're in it for all these other modes, the 6 other modes I've mentioned, plus the online, plus your mates coming around every week, endless stuff.
Plenty for you to do then.
I ain't doing it all.
60-hour game doing that.
Made sure it all worked. I went online and played a few matches, and there was complaints about online when it first launched about it lag and stuff, but I didn't experience that. I did have a disconnection before a game started, but I don't think it's the ideal way to play, but maybe they've patched it and fixed up the online play, but I'm sure maybe I just got lucky in the handful of games I played, but again, that feature's there for those that haven't got people to come round. You can get that online.
How did you find it online as a player that has limited, without putting enough, but limited skill?
Wow.
Is that fair, or is it experience?
It, didn't I? I thought alright. I mean, I think it matches you up reasonably well. So you're not going to be playing the top players in the world. I think there's a decent matchmaking system. Again, right. I might have got lucky. I didn't play it excessively, so it's difficult to say with hand on heart that's what happened. I'm just telling you what my experience was, and it was fine. Quite exciting actually sometimes, but a bit stressful because I hate losing. So I was like, right, I've played that enough now, I can go off.
Would you go back to it online?
Maybe. But if you go on a run of like 3 games losing streak,
it makes you just go, no.
No, it'd make me play it more, wouldn't it? I'd be like, no, I can't go out on that. I'm quite happy where I left it, like my ranking, so I don't want to mess it up.
Quite happy where leave that there, completed it, he says.
Clocked it.
So, I guess, unless you've got anything else to raise, it kind of just brings us to the crescendo of the matter.
Yes. No any other business for sure.
I don't know where you're going to put this. I normally have a good idea, but I genuinely have no idea on this. So, what is Super Smash Bros. Official Dimp grading?
Super Smash Bros. Ultimate earns itself an 8 out of 10.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think just for the fact that it's got all of these video game characters in it, it's got all of those stages in it, it's got all those modes that I reeled off 5 minutes ago, and it's got a campaign, albeit with its flaws and perhaps being too long, but because that's not the focus of the game, like there's other modes, it was between a 7 and an 8, but I think overall the time I've spent in it I've enjoyed. There's been frustrating times, don't get me wrong, when you can't beat a certain stage or opponent, or you die in the last second by doing something fucking stupid, like falling off the stage and not climbing back on. But overall, I think they called it Ultimate for a reason, and they've really stuck to that name and just thrown the kitchen sink at this. It's good. It's really good. And those that are fans of the games, I'm not very meta with it, so there might be things in the controls or the balancing that are not quite right for people that are fans of the games, but for someone who's not really played them before, never had their own copy and spent some extensive time with it, I was impressed. Yes, they could have tightened up the campaign, made it a bit shorter. I don't know, there's characters maybe they could have included. They could have included a codex or an encyclopedia, but overall the core experience that's there and the amount of stuff for players to do is it's mind-blowing. It's a real celebration of video games, not just Nintendo stuff. The third-party stuff they've had is really good as well, so thumbs up for me, 8 out of 10.
There you go.
Silver, isn't it?
Pretty, yeah. Didn't realise we were still doing the silver, gold, and plat.
Well, they just go along with the grading, didn't they? So if you get on the 7s and upwards,
You get one.
You get one. You get a little. It's a seal of approval, really. That medal.
Seal of approval. There you go.
There's people asking for diamond ratings.
Diamond? What would that be? The ultimate?
That'd be.
That's like Last of Us.
Yeah, it might be. What I was thinking with that is it could be if this Hall of Fame ever gets up and running, they're all diamond awarded or Game of the Years maybe. I don't know. We'll find. I always think to me platinum always just sounds better, but I know diamond's more sought after. What can you do about that?
Well, then you got 11 out of 10s being handed out.
Well, that's why I wanted to keep it away from a normal review, and it has to be like an award, like an end of year award, like a Game of the Year or into the Hall of Fame. So it's not 11 out of 10. It's just saying that this is now a diamond game. Gets upgraded, gets evolved.
Well,
it's all work though, so it won't get done.
There you go. We'll leave it on that then.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time, Apps. Ta-da.
Cheers.